It started so quietly you barely noticed. A single policy passed in 2054, an emotion regulation directive, they called it, designed to reduce social instability. Nobody blinked. The government assured everyone it was just for monitoring higher-risk relationships, the kind tied to crime, espionage, or extremist groups. But history teaches us that any law that limits human connection never stays small. It always grows. By 2057, emotional surveillance had become a global standard. It recorded the tone of your voice, the signature of your heart rate, even the patterns of your brainwaves, all in the name of national security. And then, in 2060, the hammer fell. A new global council issued the Harmonized Bond Act. This was the law that officially turned romantic love into a controlled substance. Suddenly, unregistered relationships were classified as emotional trafficking. Citizens were now required to form state-approved partnerships matched by cold, hard algorithmic compatibility charts. Love, they told us, was unpredictable. It was destabilizing. It was a threat to collective productivity. Any sign of affection outside your assigned pairing would trigger an automated alert. A sudden spike in dopamine, cortisol, or oxytocin was now flagged as illicit behavior. People learned to hide their feelings the way criminals once hid contraband. Couples started meeting in abandoned metro tunnels, whispering instead of speaking, because every word carried biological signatures that the ever-watchful cameras could decode. The government insisted it wasn't banning emotion, just managing it for the greater good. They flooded the networks with promotional videos showing citizens in their arranged partnerships, all smiling, all describing themselves as balanced and efficient. But the leaks told a different story, a much darker one. Behind the polished facade, an elite task force known as the Sentiment Patrol was at work. They monitored every citizen's digital and biological footprint, tracking anyone whose emotional patterns even hinted at an unapproved attachment. Thousands were detained for emotional deviation. Many of them simply disappeared into reconditioning centers, places where neural interfaces were used to reset their feelings. A whistleblower later revealed the terrifying truth about these centers. They used immersive simulations to weaken personal memories, replacing the love for a person with curated images of loyalty to the state. The truth finally exploded into the open because of a young woman named Mara. She was arrested after her biometric watch detected a spike in her heartbeat every single time she walked past the same cafe. She had never spoken to the man inside. She had only ever looked at him. But in the world of 2060, even unspoken attraction was a crime. Her case went viral, sparking protests that were silenced almost as quickly as they began. But that spark of resistance didn't die. It went underground. Hundreds of people began forming secret emotional sanctuaries, hidden apartments with shielded walls that blocked biometric scans, creating tiny pockets where people could feel without fear. One recovered message from a rebellion leader summed it all up perfectly. Love is not the crime. The crime is their fear of it. Then came the most chilling revelation of all, leaked from the Ministry of Harmony itself. The documents showed that the officials weren't really afraid of love. They were afraid of loyalty they couldn't control. People in love are harder to manipulate, harder to predict. They're harder to recruit into the state's identity programs. Love creates bonds that are far stronger than any propaganda. And so, because they couldn't control it, they outlawed it. But the system, for all its power, began to crack. Strange anomalies started appearing in the global emotional database. Citizens who had been reset began experiencing what were called memory echoes, flashes of past relationships, sudden bouts of sadness, an unplaceable feeling of longing. Their brains were fighting back, resisting the suppression algorithms. Scientists secretly studying the phenomenon gave it a name: residual affection syndrome. It was proof that the human mind could never fully erase what it once truly cared for. And then came the event that changed everything: the pulse failure of December 2060. For 8 minutes, the entire global biometric network crashed. It was the first moment of true privacy the world had seen in years. And in those 8 minutes, something beautiful and chaotic happened. All across the world's cities, people kissed, they held hands, they embraced. They acted on feelings they had suppressed for a decade. It became known as the 8 minutes of freedom. When the system came back online, millions of people were flagged for emotional deviation all at once. The enforcement systems were completely overwhelmed. The sheer scale of it exposed the truth. Far more people were in illegal relationships than the state had ever imagined. The government tried to crack down, but it was too late. The population was no longer afraid. Love was spreading faster than surveillance could ever hope to contain it. Anonymous groups started releasing jamming devices disguised as jewelry, blocking the emotional sensors. Secret meeting places multiplied, and entire underground communities formed, all built around the oldest human instinct: connection. Today, the law technically remains in place, but its enforcement is crumbling. Some cities still run their emotional surveillance systems, but many others have quietly abandoned them. The fight isn't over, but the tide has turned. And somewhere, on an encrypted message board believed to be run by former Sentiment Patrol officers, a final warning was posted. It read, "You can criminalize love. You cannot outlive it." The year 2060 became the moment humanity learned a lesson it should never have had to. That no system, no algorithm, no government, no luck can ever truly regulate the human heart. And perhaps that is the very reason they tried. Thanks for watching. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more. See you next time.